We're at our Sunday. Ah, just blah. There we go. Howdy. So anyway, not quite 7 feet. This thing goes up. There we go. Hello, everybody. Sunday here in Kyiv at our weekly rally. And temperature day. You're gonna hear a lot of car horns right now. Essentially, that's gonna be when all the supporters come walking by and driving by and honking their horns for solidarity. But let's go for a little bit of a walk. I'll take you amongst my friends here. First off, y'all remember my wonderful Crimean sister. This is my wonderful sister. Proud as either. Oh,
I record the series.
good. But wait, do it.
Hello.
Yes, so I was telling him about our defender rallies and showing because they see them with Yarek, but on subsect they're not seeing them. So
Yep.
it's very important we're doing this. And you're finally in Kyiv again. How are you?
Okay,
Yeah.
right. I'm going to not. Yeah.
Dude, tomorrow concert. Absolutely. Because I haven't seen you in person before. So I've seen video. Yeah. I'm gonna let her do the talking with all our wonderful friends, and then we'll go. I'm gonna show them around the crowd there. So that'll be good. Maybe we'll get some information of the concert and we'll see what's happening. Now, just leave us here for a minute. That a lot of the people here also today is basically Ukrainian Flag Day. So, Fred's coming by. So we have Independence Day is tomorrow, and the 23rd is Flag Day. So today's been very interesting to go by and see really walk, and people have been putting their flags out. Videos on Instagram. At all of our rallies, we have dogs. I'll show you. No, wait, this dog. Hold on, two corgis. Two corgis. No one misses the corgis, right? Oh, see, the best corgis ever. Yes, najкращі corgi. And I have over 2 years photos of these dogs. So
I see. Yeah.
the Turkeys bye. But it's a serious situation here. Because let's be very clear what's happening today. These are either families who have someone in captivity, or they are supporters of those families. And like, I know that Serhii does not speak. Princess, this is my good buddy Serhii. Now you saw the bachelor the Thomas. Zvernetska. Yeah. So like a year ago, you saw me with Serhii and his wonderful wife Svetlana. We're waiting for Yaroslav to return. The kожен день думаю про Yaroslav. Yeah. Every day we think of his son. And my supporters, дуже багато Америці дав дуже багато підтримки для нас. So you have a lot of support for us, a lot of love, and this is one of my dear brothers. And працюємо разом.
Вступаємо.
Повернуся Василь. Разом, brothers. We're going to work together to bring home your son. Let's say hi to some more friends and then see how we're going. So, mom. So you remember I had our wonderful videos here, our supportive videos with the moms like her that we post here to this account. Please make sure you're doing your part to allow for the various officials to be reminded on a regular basis that captivity kills. My friend Anastasia Savova, her father died after captivity. He was released, came home, and died after that because of the conditions he was in. So it doesn't necessarily make the pain go away when they've been abused, starved, tortured, and left to die for being merely Ukrainian. These actions have been going on since the first year, but they got more serious, more arg, and especially amongst the different families who had to learn how to come up with ways to get more action, more focus for their defenders. Here's the thing you don't want to miss. Hold on. Yeah. First, you don't want to mix Bogdan. Bogdan, we're going to go look at cars. Come with us. Well, this is my friend. So, I love my monopod. I need a different one that's super steel. This is not bad. But again, let me explain a little bit something that we've been trying to make clear here, including, let me get this camera off the top here because we had a conversation this week, as you know. Hold on. La, 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 la. I need a quick release for my Osmo. Um, we had a conversation this week, as you know, about humanizing coverage. A quasi-paying supporter. Let's see. I don't know if these are connected. Hold on. I'm gonna see if my earbuds are connected still or not. Bear with me. They might be. No, they are not. But they will be now. Hold on. Sobaki. Okay.
Can you hear me okay?
Oh, you hear me better. The other one. Hold on. Here we go. Okay. Let me get this to where it's kind of audible. So, as I was telling you, um, You know, now a former paid subscriber, it's a person who removed their $5 a month paid subscription, saying they wanted more humanizing coverage. I'm going to be very clear with you. There are almost no journalists who do what I do. There are very few. There are maybe some activist types, or there are some different folks who will do advocacy. That's true. But journalists typically take a fairly hard wall against the personalized story. In fact, one of the reasons why I refuse to go work for certain newspapers is that I can't do this like this. That they don't want a personalized story. They want a disaffected story that talks about the war, but hold on, I'm gonna go up here a little bit. It talks about the war, but it talks about it in a very impersonal a sense, and I get that. I advocate for, you know, I don't like the word use the word objectivity, because I think it's a bullshit term in journalism. I think it's a cop out. You want to make sure that your viewers know what you're telling you is the truth. Well, I mean, what your journalists are telling you is the truth. That's the most important thing. Is what's being relayed to you factual and useful and pertinent to the case of life? But all of these families that are waiting here, all these defender families, all of these supporters, these moms, these wives, these sisters, they need you to know their story. And unless someone goes up and gets the story, then you don't have one. I work for them. And I work for them because you, the subscribers, help make sure that I can do that. I can walk up to plenty of these people right here, like these wonderful women behind me, Yana and Tatiana and Natalie Krebsova. You've seen them in my videos for the last 3 years. They're still waiting. Natalie's son is still in captivity. The mission is not complete. And when I got this message the other day, you know, you mentioned street food, but blah, blah, blah. From someone who just canceled their $5 a month subscription, it was counterintuitive to do that. You have one person who wakes up in the morning objectively working on this kind of information, and you defunded him because he didn't give you street food. All right, let's go get street food, right? Right? That's the. Or do you want to get these guys out of captivity and provide the family support? Because I do this for them. I basically, they're journalists. You're the one that helps pay the tab. And in fact, I think it's even more unfair that I know there's a viewer right here that made up the difference that was not paid for by other people who say they want to help Ukraine. There's one person right now. I'm not going to name that person. It's not cool. Actually, there's another one that is sometimes here. They literally make up slack, take up the slack of the funding that keeps me focused on the work here. The work that's directly for the people that you see in the background, who know me as their guy, who literally call me to come to their events because they know I'm going to show up. Because like today, for instance, I have, for whatever reason, my body's not happy. Saw my a couple days ago. Feel like shit rather than just lay in bed. But I'm here because my families and my associates here need me to be there physically, even if I didn't turn on a camera, even if I didn't bring anything like the camera, because they usually see me with like a big camera kit on me walking around. Nah, not today. Today was because essentially tomorrow's Independence Day, and I've been away from these for the last few weeks while we were traveling and filming. And the irony of that guy's comment was that while that guy's saying he wasn't getting street food coverage, I was literally filming defenders in our studio. While he was saying he wasn't getting street food coverage, we were filming defenders who had been defending our front. We spent the last month filming so much that I literally spent the last 2.5 weeks moving coverage from 5 or 6 drives onto the new 5 terabyte drives. It took me 2.5 weeks maybe to do all that. And then I get to read someone that says, I want to see more humanizing coverage. Okay. Then the person says, well, look, I know on your website and maybe in the past you did, but the emails that I get, meaning Substack announcements don't reflect that. This is stupid. This is so myopic on purpose. It's like an extra work to be indifferent. Because literally in the last 4 weeks since the 23rd, which is when that person paid their subscription, no, literally I went live to multiple rallies about Fedoros in Mykolaiv, in Dnipro, in Kyiv. We did live segments with like tomorrow's instead of tonight. Sean will be in town to Kyiv tomorrow for Independence Day, so we're gonna do our show tomorrow, and we work all the time to do that. And we did because we didn't entertain one particular guy. He pulls his $5 per month off the table, and that's okay. Someone else made up that difference. Someone else stepped in, getting the mission, and made up that difference. And I'm not gonna bullshit you. It's very goddamn stressful to be trying to operate a news organization with no funding, with limited funding that comes in from a handful of people who actually get what's going on, and from people who know I am not the only one doing anything on my projects. I have not worked alone from day one. When we don't have the resources, like that person who says, well, I want more of this, but I'm going to cancel my subscription. Well, then you don't get to say that. You don't get to say you want more of something that you're not going to fund, that you're not going to support. You're basically just an arrogant American sitting on your lazy, retired ass talking shit at that point. Why do I know? Because these families don't know who you are, and they don't have time to know who you are. They want their defenders home from captivity. The whole purpose of this rally is to get guys home from captivity. It's not to get clicks. It is not to get views. It's to get support. You're not watching CNN. You're not watching BBC. We don't see CNN here. We don't see BBC. We don't see New York Times. We see people like me here to come tell you what's happening. There's no other Western journalists. So defund the one who's been loyal from day one because you didn't get street food. You know, that's the mission. So what we have to do is we have to remember what this mission is about. We have all these families right here who have been waiting for their defenders to be released. And we need you to take action. You need to write to your representatives, get on the phone with your press, get on the phone with your various advocacy groups, post it nonstop on your social media. But more importantly, if you can, fund people who do the fucking work. And don't leave it up to the one or two people I know who are basically taking up the slack in the background, please. We have no knowledge of when this war will end. We are waiting to see when this war will end. I wish it would end tomorrow, today. But we know that Putin has no interest in ending the war. Putin's head is over if he ends the war. He knows that. He has to come home with something. And he's not going to come home with something. But we're going to keep covering this. I have been covering these rallies since November 2022. Since November 2022, when I stood in Maidan at the first rallies that had no real organization to them back then. It was just families showing up at an event to announce something. And then eventually, many of these groups started developing more of a coordination between their family units. If they were members of one of the battalions or something, around them would coalesce support. And then they were basically still, even internally, fighting this fight internally because the government can only do so much. The government cannot make Russia release anybody. They can try. And so when Western supporters step up for these families, see these? Enjoy my wonderful, these are my wonderful friends. In fact, I'm going to go, Razum. Yeah. Razum, mama. So anyway, that's my peoples. That's my peoples. And they need you. They really do. There are actually some of these friends who read English and they see the shit that gets said about me by grifters who claim to be Ukraine supporters, but are basically turf hunting of some sort. They know who the real guy is. Not just one. I'm not the only one who does shit here. Please make no mistake that I think I'm some magical, unique character, unicorn doing stuff. But in this capacity, in the Western support for the POWs and those who come back from torture, there's not a lot of Western support. It gets an occasional mention somewhere. Maybe New York Times will finally do some feature once, and then it disappears. It goes back to discussions of air defense and Zelensky and Trump and all that shit. We need people to support the families here. The way you do it is to get a paid subscription to what I do. Keep me in check with that too. You don't just get to do that and I go, okay, I'm gonna go on vacation to the mountains now. We got enough subscribers. I have not taken a vacation the entire time I've been here. Have not taken any time off. Yesterday, I was at the computer for maybe an hour. I felt like shit, but I was still at the computer for 1 hour. And actually, I was in bed. I'm a thumb ninja. So I was in bed typing up reports, trying to do that while my stomach was not feeling happy. Because my friends don't have that luxury. I could walk you, and unfortunately, there's a lot of my friends who don't speak English, so I would be sitting there having a conversation with Ukrainian, which I don't mind with you guys, but it's just a little easier for me to come talk to you, explain the situation, and then when we make videos, we film them and I translate them. We have one I'm working on right now. It's still taking me a while. Forgive me. It's a 4-hour translation. 4 hours of sitting a defender down in our studio. And the one that some of our subscribers help us to fund, by the way, $300 a month. And I only had to ask 3 questions to get 4 hours of commentary. Do you know how much emotion must be in a man to be able to speak for 4 hours on only 3 provocation comments? That's a lot. And that's just one defender. I spent the last 2 weeks consolidating hard drives so we can keep filming because we were out of space, mostly workable space. Now we're not. We're ready to go and to continue more filming. So it's not about street food. I'll make shawarma videos. Don't you worry. I'll put up videos on Mama's Borscht. Don't you worry. I just put up one today going through our grocery store since someone wants that human connection. Because as you guys actually been paying attention now, I do that all the time anyway. But I like to do that. I appreciate being able to do that, and I appreciate the support of those who actually support. And I'm under no illusion that just because someone tuned in that they were a supporter. There are times where we see the numbers go up on this platform or another platform, but that does not necessarily mean that it's a supporter. It could be just someone watching, someone passively paying attention. But take a moment to think about what you just saw a minute ago. When I go up to my wonderful families here, and I can jump in the group picture, they want me in that photo because we're together. Мы разом. That's what we say that in Ukrainian. We разом, together. Мы працюємо разом. We work together. Ми чекаємо разом. We wait together. We stare at every one of those releases that comes home. 103 defenders are released. And I know all these families can tell you right now, if I walked up to them, do you get a text the day that release happens of a reminder that I'm still here if you didn't get news, of a congratulations if you did get good news? We have births coming for babies coming from defenders who return. I have texts that make me just want to cry in deep emotional cry of guys who come home from captivity and they text with me a lot. Because you mean there's an American who's obsessed with us? And I tell them about you. I say, I don't do this alone. We film and we share it with the world and we hope that they pay attention. And there are plenty of you who pay attention. So, but that's why I decided to bring the monopod today to take you with us as we try to come out and see what's happening here and do our part to support Ukrainians and stand up for the good people. And we want to make sure that you see how important it is to support these wonderful families. Imagine having to wait for over 4 years for your husband to be returned, for your son to be returned. If you had to wait for 4 years, every day with birthdays coming and going, every day you have to wait. And you don't get to say happy birthday. You don't get to celebrate those things because your husband, your son is in captivity, because your family is divided because of the Russian Federation. You see all these wonderful people. You see how they have to basically come out here. Imagine having to come out here every week. Every week you come out here because you haven't gotten your defender home. And I will tell you right now, even now I can walk up and I can identify plenty of family members here that no one said hello to. It's what I sort of specialize in doing. Just walk up, give a hug, and remind the support. I'm going to sign off now so I can focus on the people in front of me. I'll be back on a little bit later to comment about a lot of shit happening. We had no air attacks last night. You know why we didn't have air attacks last night? Because General Kellogg was in town. We call it the Kellogg Air Defense. Whenever Trump's Kellogg comes into town, Russia does not launch missiles. I don't know why. We'll see about it. All right, take care of yourself. Slava Ukraini, Heroim Slava. I pizdeць Rosійської Федерації. Do not forget to support these defenders.